Life will test you. It will throw pain at you. It will throw uncertainty. It will throw betrayal, failure, rejection, and every possible obstacle designed to shake you to your core. And in those moments, most people don't lose because of what happened. They lose because they let their emotions take control. Fear takes the wheel. Doubt whispers in their ear. Anger blinds them. Sadness paralyzes them. The truth is, it's not the event that defines you. It's your response. You win when your mind is stronger than your emotions. Think about it. Every time you've been stopped in life, it wasn't because you weren't capable. It wasn't because you didn't have enough talent, enough resources, or enough time. It was because you let how you felt in the moment override what you knew you needed to do. You didn't feel like getting up early. You didn't feel like pushing through the pain. You didn't feel like risking rejection. But if you live life driven by your feelings, you'll live a life chained to mediocrity. Feelings are temporary. Discipline, focus, and mental toughness, those are permanent weapons. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel fear. They're not the ones who never feel doubt. They're not the ones who walk through life emotionless. No, the strongest people are the ones who feel it all. The fear, the anger, the exhaustion, and still choose not to let it dictate their actions. They've trained their mind to lead, not follow. They've trained their mind to command their body, not beg for permission. You win when you say, I don't care how I feel, I care about what I committed to. You win when you stop letting your emotions drag you back to comfort and start letting your vision pull you forward to greatness. You win when you choose discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure, growth over excuses. Emotions are like storms. They come fast, they shake you, they make noise, but they always pass. If you anchor yourself to them, you'll be tossed around, directionless, powerless. But if your mind is the captain, if your decisions are rooted in strength, clarity, and purpose, then no storm can sink you. Every champion you admire, every leader who built something extraordinary, every person who went from nothing to greatness, none of them got there by letting emotions control them. They felt the same fear you feel. They had the same excuses you have, but they built a stronger mind. They trained themselves to move forward, especially when their emotions screamed at them to stop. So, the next time your emotions rise up, the next time fear says, play it safe, the next time doubt says, you're not good enough, the next time exhaustion whispers, quit, you look back at your mind and you let it lead, you decide, you command, you act, because the second you make your mind stronger than your emotions, you win. Emotions are powerful, there's no denying that. They can lift you to the highest levels of joy or drag you down into the deepest pits of despair. They can make you feel unstoppable, or they can convince you that you're broken beyond repair. But here's the truth, emotions are temporary. They come and they go, they rise and they fall. They shift with the wind and change with the seasons. What you decide in those emotional storms, however, can last a lifetime. That's the difference. If you live your life reacting to every emotion, you will forever be at the mercy of your feelings. One moment you're motivated, the next moment you're lazy. One moment you're confident, the next you're insecure. One moment you're focused, the next you're distracted. That's the cycle most people live in because they never learn the simple but powerful principle that emotions are temporary, decisions are permanent. Think back to moments in your life when emotions dictated your actions. Maybe you walked away from an opportunity because you felt afraid. Maybe you gave up on a goal because you felt discouraged. Maybe you ruined a relationship because you let anger take over. The emotion passed, didn't it? But the decision you made in that moment left a mark. The opportunity you missed never came back the same way. The goal you quit on still haunts you when you think of what could have been. The words you spoke in anger are still remembered by the person you hurt. The emotion was fleeting, but the outcome lasted. That's why winning in life isn't about avoiding emotions. It's about mastering them by choosing to place decisions above them. People often say, I'll wait until I feel ready. But that day never comes. Waiting for the perfect emotional state is a trap. Winners understand that emotions are signals, not commands. You can feel fear, but you can still step forward. You can feel doubt, but you can still act with faith. You can feel exhausted, but you can still get up and move. When you train your mind to separate decisions from emotions, you gain freedom. You free yourself from the chains of being controlled by moods, circumstances, or fleeting feelings. You begin to act based on values, vision, and commitments rather than impulses. That's where true power lies. Think about how many people ruin their lives because they act on emotion without thought. The person who loses their temper and damages their reputation. The person who feels hopeless one night and quits on everything they've been working toward. The person who feels jealous and makes a choice that destroys trust. These aren't failures of ability or intelligence. They're failures of emotional control. The emotions themselves pass, but the damage left behind doesn't vanish so quickly. Contrast that with the people who build extraordinary lives. They are not emotionless robots. They feel everything you feel, but they've trained themselves to pause, to breathe, to think, and to make decisions from clarity, not chaos. That's why they keep building, keep moving, and keep winning even when their emotions tell them to stop. The real key is understanding that your mind can be conditioned to lead, but it won't happen automatically. If you don't train it, your emotions will rule by default. Strengthening your mind is like strengthening a muscle. Every time you act in alignment with your decisions instead of your emotions, you get stronger. Every time you get up when you don't feel like it, you're building power. Every time you keep going when doubt screams at you to quit, you're building resilience. Every time you hold your tongue when anger tries to explode, you're building discipline. These small moments add up, and they create a person who can no longer be shaken by passing moods. When you understand that emotions are temporary, you stop giving them permanent power. You stop letting a bad day become a bad week. You stop letting fear turn into regret. You stop letting sadness turn into surrender. You recognize emotions for what they are, energy, signals, experiences, and you choose to rise above them with the decisions that will move your life forward. That's the essence of strength, not the absence of feeling, but the dominance of choice. Because in the end, it's not the emotions you feel that shape your destiny, it's the decisions you make in the midst of them. And those decisions, unlike emotions, last forever. Winners understand something most people never figure out. Feelings are unreliable. They shift, they fade, they deceive. If you only act when you feel like it, your life will be built on inconsistency. Discipline is what separates the people who dream from the people who achieve. Discipline means you do it because you said you would, not because the mood was right or the timing felt perfect. Discipline means you show up regardless of how you feel inside. Feelings might give you the spark to start, but only discipline will carry you across the finish line. Think about how many times in your life you didn't feel like doing the very thing you knew you needed to do. You didn't feel like studying, but that exam still came. You didn't feel like going to the gym, but your health still depended on it. You didn't feel like having that difficult conversation, but the relationship still needed honesty. You didn't feel like pushing through the pain, but the opportunity was still there. Life doesn't care about how you feel in the moment. It rewards you based on what you consistently do. That's why discipline always wins over feelings. The truth is, if you wait for motivation to come, you'll waste your life waiting. Motivation is a burst. It's a rush. It's an emotional high that never lasts. Discipline is the engine that keeps moving no matter the terrain. Discipline doesn't need hype. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It doesn't need inspiration. It just moves forward. The people who accomplish extraordinary things don't rely on being in the right mood. They rely on their commitment. They treat their word as law. They treat their goals as non-negotiable. And they let discipline drive when their feelings try to slam the brakes. Look at any champion, any leader, any high performer in any field. They all have feelings just like you. They feel tired, they feel scared, they feel distracted, they feel tempted to quit. The difference is they don't negotiate with those feelings. They don't give feelings the power to decide. They let discipline decide. That's why they wake up before the sun. That's why they practice when nobody is watching. That's why they do the uncomfortable work day after day. It's not because they always feel like it. It's because discipline demands it. Most people confuse comfort with happiness. They think avoiding discomfort will make them feel better, but all it does is keep them small. Discipline embraces discomfort because it knows the pain of discipline is temporary, while the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Skipping one workout feels good in the moment, but it leaves you weaker tomorrow. Avoiding one tough decision feels easier, but it leaves you trapped in the same cycle. Procrastinating on your goals gives you relief right now, but it steals your future. Discipline takes the opposite path. It accepts short-term discomfort for long-term freedom. It says, I may not feel like it right now, but I'll do it anyway because I know who I want to become. Every time you choose discipline over feelings, you strengthen your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits, someone who avoids, someone who waits. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who honors commitments, someone who finishes what they start. That identity becomes powerful, and soon discipline doesn't just feel like effort. It feels like alignment. It feels like living in integrity with yourself. That's when discipline becomes freedom. Because when you're disciplined, you don't live at the mercy of how you feel. You live by the standards you've set. Feelings are like waves. They rise and fall. They crash and disappear. If you try to build your life on them, you'll sink. Discipline is the rock beneath it all. It doesn't matter if the tide is high or low, the rock remains. The mind must learn to lead the body, not ask permission from it. You cannot wait for energy, you must generate it. You cannot wait for courage, you must act into it. You cannot wait for confidence, you must build it through action. That's the essence of discipline. It doesn't wait, it creates. It doesn't follow, it commands. It doesn't depend, it decides. When you look back at your life years from now, it won't be the fleeting emotions you remember. You won't remember how tired you felt that morning, how unmotivated you were that week, how afraid you were in that moment. You'll remember whether you acted despite it. You'll remember whether you had the discipline to do the hard things when it was inconvenient. You'll remember the results, the achievements, the breakthroughs, the life you built because you let discipline lead instead of feelings. And that's what defines winners. They don't let emotions dictate their path. They let discipline carry them to victory. Strength has nothing to do with pretending you don't feel anything. Real strength isn't about shutting down fear, ignoring doubt, or denying anger. Real strength is about control. It's about feeling everything. The nerves before you step on stage, the fear before you take the risk, the doubt before you commit to the unknown, and moving forward anyway. It's about recognizing those emotions, acknowledging them, and still refusing to let them dictate your decisions. That's what separates those who break through from those who stay stuck. The weak are not weak because they feel fear or doubt. They are weak because they let those emotions run their life. The strong are strong because they feel the same emotions and choose not to surrender to them. Think of the moments where fear almost stopped you. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment. Those emotions were real, powerful, and loud. But think of the times you pushed through them. How different the outcome was when you acted despite how you felt. That's what control looks like. You felt the nerves, your heart was racing, your thoughts were spinning, but your mind said, "We're going anyway." That's when you experienced growth. That's when you found confidence. That's when you realized fear doesn't have to be the enemy. It's a signal, not a sentence. Doubt is the same. Everyone doubts themselves. Everyone has those voices whispering, "You're not enough. You're going to mess this up. Who do you think you are?" The difference between those who stay average and those who rise is not the absence of doubt, but the ability to keep moving while doubt screams. When you understand that doubt is just noise, that it doesn't define your ability, you gain power over it. You stop negotiating with it, you stop arguing with it, and you start proving it wrong through action. That's what control is. You don't let doubt paralyze you. You let your decisions lead you. And then there's anger. Anger can destroy everything in an instant when it's uncontrolled. How many relationships have been shattered? How many opportunities have been lost? How many reputations have been ruined because someone gave into anger in a single moment? That emotion passes quickly, but the damage it leaves can last years. Strength doesn't mean never feeling angry. It means being able to channel it, to breathe, to hold back the explosion, and to decide wisely even when the fire is burning inside. When you master that control, anger becomes energy, fuel for action instead of destruction. The strongest people are not cold, they're not detached, they're not emotionless. In fact, they feel deeply. But they don't let feelings steer the wheel, they let their mind steer. They let their principles, their commitments, their vision direct their life. That's why they keep moving forward when others break down. That's why they make decisions that build their future instead of destroy it. That's why they're trusted, admired, and remembered. Because when emotions rise, they don't collapse. They rise higher. It's easy to give in to emotions because they're loud. Fear feels overwhelming, doubt feels convincing, anger feels urgent, sadness feels heavy, but the mind is stronger than all of it, if you train it to be. Training your mind means creating the gap between feeling and acting. It means learning to pause. It means saying, I feel this, but I don't have to obey this. That pause is where your power lies. That pause is the space where you reclaim control. That pause is the difference between a reaction that ruins your life and a decision that builds it. The truth is, nobody escapes emotions. Every champion has felt like quitting. Every leader has felt fear. Every great innovator has doubted themselves. Every fighter has felt the weight of exhaustion. The difference is in control. The average person surrenders to those emotions. The strong person acknowledges them, then acts anyway. That is strength. Not the absence of the storm, but the ability to walk through it without being blown off course. You can either be a slave to your emotions or a master of them. When you're a slave, every emotion dictates your life. You feel tired, so you don't move. You feel afraid, so you don't try. You feel angry, so you lash out. You feel sad, so you give up. But when you are the master, you flip the script. You feel tired, but you move anyway. You feel afraid, but you try anyway. You feel angry, but you breathe and choose wisely. You feel sad, but you still push forward. That's real freedom. The ability to act not based on what you feel, but based on what you decide. Strength is not about numbing your emotions, it's about directing them. It's about channeling them into action, into progress, into growth. When you master that, you stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming the architect of your life. That's when you truly step into your power. Your vision has to be louder than your emotions, because emotions will always try to distract you from what you were born to do. Every time you set a goal, every time you commit to a new standard, every time you raise the bar for yourself, your emotions will rise up to challenge you. Fear will scream at you to play it safe. Doubt will whisper that you're not good enough. Excitement will push you forward one day, and then discouragement will pull you back the next. That's the cycle. Most people get stuck in chasing a vision when they feel good and abandoning it when they don't. But if your vision is loud enough, clear enough, and strong enough, it will silence those emotions and pull you forward when your feelings try to drag you down. Vision is the picture of the life you want, the future you are building, the standard you refuse to compromise on. It's the thing that gets you out of bed when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. It's the thing that keeps you grinding when everyone else is taking shortcuts. It's the thing that gives meaning to your sacrifices and purpose to your pain. Without vision, emotions win because they fill the empty space. If you don't have a clear why, fear becomes your why. If you don't have a strong direction, doubt takes the wheel. If you don't have a defined future, anger or sadness will control your present. Vision is what gives you the strength to endure the emotional storms because you know where you're going and you know why it matters. Most people lose because their emotions are louder than their vision. They say they want success, but the moment it feels uncomfortable, they quit. They say they want freedom, but the moment fear of rejection shows up, they retreat. They say they want growth, but the moment doubt creeps in, they stop trying. It's not that they didn't want it. It's that their vision wasn't loud enough to drown out the noise of their emotions. The people who win, the people who create extraordinary lives, are the ones whose vision screams louder than their fear, louder than their doubt, louder than their exhaustion. When the vision is loud, emotions lose their power. Think about an athlete training for the championship. Every day they wake up sore, tired, and sometimes unmotivated. Their emotions tell them to skip the workout, to take it easy, to relax. But the vision of holding that trophy, the vision of becoming the best, the vision of fulfilling their potential is louder than the voice of comfort. That's what drives them back into the gym, back onto the field, back into the grind. Or think about an entrepreneur starting from nothing. Fear of failure is constant, doubt is everywhere, setbacks are guaranteed. But the vision of building something meaningful, the vision of creating impact, the vision of changing their family's future is louder than those emotions. That vision becomes the fuel that keeps them pressing forward when everything around them says stop. Your emotions live in the present. They care about what feels good right now. They care about avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, and protecting comfort. Your vision lives in the future. It demands that you look past the moment and focus on what you're building. When you choose to make your vision louder, you're choosing to live for more than the now. You're choosing to sacrifice comfort for greatness, distraction for focus, and excuses for execution. That's why people with strong vision are unstoppable. Because they're not making decisions based on how they feel today. They're making decisions based on the life they're committed to creating tomorrow. Every time emotions rise up, you have a choice. Listen to the noise or listen to the vision. If the noise wins, you go back to the cycle of starting and quitting, of trying and giving up, of wanting and never achieving. But if the vision wins, you build momentum. You stack day after day of progress, even when you don't feel like it. You move forward with consistency instead of being tossed around by temporary feelings. And eventually, that momentum builds into results, into confidence, into transformation. The vision pulls you through what emotions would have kept you from. That's why clarity is power. The clearer your vision, the louder it becomes. If your vision is vague, emotions will drown it out every time. But when you know exactly what you're after, when you can see it, feel it, and believe it, it becomes unshakable. Fear can rise, doubt can rise, pain can rise, but they can't outshout a vision that's burning inside of you. A clear vision creates certainty, and certainty silences the noise of emotions. When your vision is louder than your emotions, nothing can stop you. Mental toughness is the separator between those who dream and those who achieve. Talent matters, yes. Resources can help, of course. Opportunities can open doors, absolutely. But none of it means anything without the ability to push through when emotions rise up against you. Mental toughness is not about never struggling. It's about continuing despite the struggle. It's not about never doubting, it's about acting despite the doubt. It's not about never feeling pain, it's about enduring the pain without letting it dictate your choices. That's what creates winners. The ones who lose are often just as capable, sometimes even more talented, but they break when their emotions get loud. The ones who win are the ones who refuse to be ruled by those emotions. Look at any field, sports, business, art, leadership. You'll see countless examples of people with extraordinary ability who never made it because they couldn't handle the pressure, the fear, the rejection, or the failures. And you'll see others who weren't the most talented, weren't the most gifted, weren't the most resourced, but they were tough. They didn't fold under pressure, they didn't give up when it hurt, they didn't quit when the emotions told them to. That toughness carried them farther than natural ability ever could. Talent might open the door, but toughness is what keeps you inside when everything around you tries to push you out. Mental toughness is built in the small, unseen choices. It's built every time you keep a promise to yourself when you don't feel like it. It's built every time you show up when you'd rather stay in bed. It's built every time you push through one more rep, one more call, one more effort when your body and emotions are screaming for you to stop. These moments don't look like much at the time, but together they forge a mind that doesn't break. They create resilience. They create certainty. They create an inner strength that no emotion can overpower. The world will always test you. Life will always present challenges that stir up emotions you don't want to feel. You will feel fear when stepping into the unknown. You will feel doubt when the outcome isn't guaranteed. You will feel exhaustion when you've been grinding for days, weeks, months. You will feel frustration when things don't go according to plan. Those emotions are unavoidable. But mental toughness means you don't let those emotions decide for you. You acknowledge them, you recognize them, but you act anyway. That's the difference. The weak give emotions control, the tough take control back. Every breakthrough, every success story, every transformation is built on moments where mental toughness overpowered emotion. Think about the person who pushed through rejection after rejection until the opportunity finally came. Think about the athlete who kept training despite the pain until their body adapted and their skill grew. Think about the leader who stayed calm under pressure when everyone else panicked. These stories are not about talent alone, they're about toughness. They're about refusing to bow to the emotional storm and choosing to stand firm instead. That's why toughness separates winners from losers. It's not what you feel that matters, it's what you choose despite what you feel. When you lack mental toughness, emotions control your life. You'll only work when you feel motivated. You'll only persist when you feel confident. You'll only fight when you feel strong. But when you develop toughness, you create consistency. You keep moving when motivation is gone. You keep building when confidence wavers. You keep fighting when you feel weak. That consistency compounds, and it creates results that the emotionally driven will never experience. Toughness gives you the ability to keep stacking progress until the gap between you and everyone else is undeniable. Mental toughness is not something you're born with, it's something you build. And you build it by leaning into discomfort, by facing fear, by pushing through doubt, by refusing to give in to temporary emotions. Every time you make that choice, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the moment, stronger than the feeling, stronger than the storm, and the more you prove it, the more it becomes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as fragile and start seeing yourself as unbreakable. That identity becomes your advantage because while others are waiting for the right feeling to act, you're already acting. While others are folding under pressure, you're rising under pressure. While others are giving in to emotion, you're proving that your mind is stronger. That is why mental toughness will always be the separator, the deciding factor, the quality that determines who wins and who loses.